litter, and strong fat roots. Which of these should you focus for maximum productivity? People place too much emphasis on creating litter. And while litter is important, too much litter inhibits germination, establishment of desirable new species through shading, and growing points, which are close to the ground. In truth, litter should be a byproduct of total grazing, as it depends on the amount of forage available before grazing, which is governed by maturity, growing conditions, strong fat roots, and humus content of your soil. How much harvest efficiency can be attained with total grazing? The harvest efficiency with animals is 80 to 90% when doing total grazing. This means that 10 to 20% of pre-grazing forage mass will be left behind as litter. It is important to remember that the more pre-grazing forage mass, the more litter will be left behind. Do not try to create more litter via selective grazing, as this will have many unintended consequences. Let's look at an example. When animals selectively graze a paddock with 2 tons of forage per acre, they will only leave 400 pounds of litter on the ground. But when the forage is increased by the longer rest allowed by total grazing, to say 10 tons of forage per acre, the litter will be around 2,000 pounds, which is much higher and without having to manage specifically for litter by selective grazing. When we manage for what we want, we usually get rid of the other so-called problems. When people try to leave more litter behind after grazing a paddock, they have cattle do selective grazing to have them trample more and consume less. This is very wasteful and goes against profits. It goes against basic plant physiology, stored energy in plant roots and crowns. Finally, it goes against how nature functions, with many different species of herbivores under the predator effect where total grazing is the result. Remember, litter should be a byproduct of total grazing. This is a picture of high litter left after grazing, with large interplant spacings. Large interplant spacings is not what we require for a large solar panel in our land. A shorter interplant spacing means a better solar panel and more forage and humus produced. Litter is a byproduct and is automatically created at the right amounts if we grow more forage thanks to the correct total grazing that allows for longer rest periods. This is giant grass, Leptocloa dubia, on a 16-inch rainfall environment. This huge growth was achieved thanks to total grazing followed by a long rest period. Focus on creating strong roots with total grazing, and litter will be the byproduct. Debrief with Jim.
Litter or strong fat roots? Which of these is more important for achieving maximum productivity? Here we see plants that with their green leaves will produce more root exudates because they have a better leaf to stem ratio. And as we already saw, root exudates, when they get fat, by producing strong and fat roots, by longer rest periods allowed by total grazing, is what increases humus the fastest. It's not litter, as we were led to believe. This is new knowledge, only 5 or 6 years old. So when we want to create more litter by trampling, we end up with selective grazing, which goes against strong and fat roots, because that means that we take less cow days per grazing and we need to come back faster to where in very arid areas, they usually come when they do that in three or four times a year. Imagine if you have a drought year that it doesn't rain the full year and you come back 3 or 4 times a year. What will happen to the plants that are trying to regrow in such a situation? What will happen if you get one rain at the end of the season and the seedlings are trying to establish and the cows come back and take it off? They will pull them out with the roots out of the ground and you will start to desertify that area. So instead of viewing litter as the goal, we should view strong and fat roots as the goal, because litter can also be taken away by wind or by rain, heavy rainfall. but strong fat roots with short distances between individual plants gives a better solar panel and a much stronger holding capacity so the soil is not eroded. Once we lose our soil through erosion, we also lose our soil seed bank of our best species. So let's stop erosion with strong roots and fat roots, which create more glomalin, which gives the coessence to the soil. It's the glue that forms the soil aggregates. We need those fat roots to be able to hold the soil and be more productive and stop erosion.